Hey, church family, I wanted to take this opportunity to present you with another word of encouragement as we continue to pray for the recovery of our country. Now, as we continue to track the coronavirus here in Texas, we can rejoice in knowing that the case counts, they continue to drop. Not only that, but the daily number of deaths is also dropping as this virus continues to burn out. But what you might not know is that the numbers, well, they're even better than what's being reported. In order to prove my point, it'll help you to know that it was last month when the reporting system here in Texas was upgraded. It was at that point in time when state officials discovered a large backlog of positive test results, which had been previously overlooked or miscoded. These come from late spring and even into summer. Now, what this means is this, that case counts in some counties had been artificially low for months. In other words, the spike from June and July and even into August should have been higher than what was reported. But not only that, what this also means is that the case counts are now artificially high in the final weeks of August and even into September, as those omitted cases are then finally added after the fact. So when you see the case numbers today, they're higher than they actually should be. For example, Dallas County reported 5,361 confirmed cases on one day in mid-August, when the county actually only had 166 new cases. What this means is that the case count in Dallas was inflated by more than 5,000 positive tests on that particular day. The state has also added thousands of backlogged cases since then, many dating from June and July. Therefore, as we consider the current case counts here in Texas, it's important to understand that the total number of reported cases include an accumulation of cases from previous weeks and months. Another example of this occurred last Friday as the Nueces County Public Health District reported 4,000 more cumulative cases. Without debate, that's a huge number, and it's sure to cause concern in the minds of those who think that we're about to hit another spike of infections. Listen, that's not the case. It's backlogged information, being pumped into the system in these data dumps. And it's also important to note that at least 17 counties also report probable cases, right? So that's still an issue too with these case counts. These probable cases are not only based on antigen testing, but also just based on visual symptoms or even information about exposure to an infected person. Or in other words, many cases here in Texas were included in the case count simply because they were near someone who was infected. Now, in light of all this data, there should be no doubt that the case counts here in Texas are extremely unreliable. Not only do different counties employ different methods of identifying positive cases, but many counties here in Texas are still using antiquated data systems, some even relying on fax machines for reporting their information. And as a result, we see these small spikes in the case count caused by backlogged information being dumped into the system. Now, I don't think that, this is some sort of nefarious plot. I believe that Governor Abbott is trying to create a system that provides us with more accurate information in a timely fashion, which is why they're now updating these systems. And yet, even as they continue to adjust and enhance the current system, I must insist that the case counts will continue to be questionable so long as health officials are allowed to count those who simply showed symptoms or were in proximity of an infected person. We need true scientific testing before we include, a positive case. But rather than stressing out about all this, rather than stressing out about the daily case counts, which can be altered by backlogged information, listen, those who want a proper perspective on the spread of this virus here in Texas, well, we only need to look as far as the current hospitalization count. I'll provide a link below so that you can look at this every day if you'd like. But I just want to remind you that the whole point of flattening the curve, this was to make sure that the hospitals aren't being overwhelmed. So regardless of the case counts, the real question is, are the hospitals being overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients? And the answer is an emphatic no. Currently, statewide hospitalizations are down to 3,325. That's for the whole state of Texas. This is actually the lowest number of hospitalizations since June 21st, which was the beginning of the outbreak that occurred here in Texas. There are currently more than 12,000 available hospital beds here in Texas. There are more than 1,000 available ICU beds and more than 7,000 ventilators for the people of Texas. Here in our region of Central Texas, there are 100 people currently being treated for COVID-19 in the hospital. 100 people here in the region that we are in. Now think about that for a moment, because the region that we're in, this includes more than 150 million people. Now, out of a population that exceeds 150 million people, there are 100 currently being treated in the hospital for COVID-19. Now, as we consider the total number of COVID-19 hospitalizations, we can rejoice in knowing that this virus is in fact burning out. And with that being the case, we ought to, have some peace of mind as we gather together with our Christian community. Now, in light of all this information, I invite you to join us right here at Calvary South Austin for our midweek service. If you'd like to know more about our service times and the measures that we're taking to sanitize our facilities, well, you can find all this information right here at calvarysouthaustin.com. I hope to see you soon, but until I do, let's continue fighting the good fight of faith, all for the glory of God.